This video that I am about to upload, go ahead and get the gang in the black. Oricha. Okay. But this video I'm about to post is why working a job is slavery. The explanation behind it, who started it, why they started it, all that shit. Nothing. Watch this video. And then when you're done, go and watch the full video on University of Cosmic Intelligence. You'll never work a job again. And to everybody, talking that shit, saying this video doesn't sound like the job, oh my god, shut up, oh my god. Yeah, you're gonna feel dumb as fuck after you get done watching this video. You're a slave. And you will realize that after you watch the video. Love you.
Alright, so let's get to it. Alright, so basically we know that Henry Ford was a human being that created the Ford Motor Company. Alright, and that he was personally responsible for the work week. Alright, so the way we work today, the way individuals work, how you work 5 days a week, you get 2 off days, and you work 40-hour weeks. Well, he created that whole mindset, okay? Now, in Google, they tell you on Wikipedia, in addition to raising his workers' wages, Ford also introduced a new reduced work week in 1926. The decision was made in 1922 when Ford and his co-worker described it as a 6 8-hour days given a 48-hour work week. So that originally in 1922, when they first started hiring major employees for these factories that was building, with Ford being one of the leading producers of these factories, it was required for people to work 6 days a week, 8 hours a day. All right. But in 1926, Ford changed it to 5 8-hour days, making it a 40-hour work week. Okay. The program apparently started with Saturdays being designated as a work day before becoming a day off sometime later. On May 1st, 1926, the Ford Motor Company's factory workers switched to a 5-day, 40-hour work week, with the company's office workers making the transition the following August. All right? Now let's see why. They say Ford had decided to boost productivity, as workers were expected to put more effort into their work in exchange for more leisure time. So what does that mean? Basically, originally, they required you to work more hours. All right? Originally, slaves were required to work sun up to sundown. But when they started creating these factories, they was already pushing us out of chain slavery, and they was pushing us into these new plantations called jobs, which Henry Ford was one of the leading productions in that. All right? All through Detroit, Michigan, and spread out throughout the country. All right? That's why the Midwest to this day has so many factories. You know what I'm saying? There's so many abandoned factories. Like Detroit was a factory town. General Electric and Ford, there were so many companies there. Ohio, India, a lot of these places was like that, and then a lot of these jobs moved out. So that's why it's poverty stricken throughout the Midwest, like it is now in certain cities. All right, but you have to understand that the whole reason Ford did this, the whole reason you work 8 hours a day now is because of Henry Ford. Okay, the whole reason there's a work schedule is because of Henry Ford. All right, because before it was that, he was working sun up to sundown. Even after they freed the slaves, niggas still had to work sun up to sundown just to get some kibbles and bits. All right, so when they wanted us, there was a mind fuck. They was trying to manipulate us to believe, or our ancestors into believing that it was change. So what better way to bring change than to say, hey, you don't have to go to work, but it's an option. So a lot of our ancestors started going to these factories. They're not going to tell you on Wikipedia that the majority of people that worked in them factories was black people. They just gonna say workers. Just to make you think it was human beings. Listen, a lot of them human beings didn't know how to fucking work. They was fresh out of slavery. We talking 1922. We was just in physical shackles 40, 33 generations, 3 decades, four decades prior. Okay? We 2 decades into the 20th century, 1922. So 30 years before that, niggas was in shackles. So majority of these human beings, they didn't know how to work and they didn't like work. So when they did try to come into the factories, guess who was outworking them? We was. Because we was fresh from working sun up to sun motherfucking down. On top of that, we are still the ancient beings. Okay? We are still the ancient beings, naturally. So our life force was used. Now, Henry Ford, he's a smart ass motherfucking honky. That's what I call him. Even though he's a Pleiadian. We're gonna get to that. Because what he did was, the reason he came up with a slicker way to enslave us. Oh, you know what? Y'all ain't gotta work sun up to sundown. It's 6 days. He started that. Then he broke it down. You know what? Y'all ain't gotta work 6 days. Y'all ain't gotta work 6 days a week. We're gonna just only make it 5.
Open a Chime checking account in 2 minutes, and we'll spot you up to $200. Plus,
y'all ain't gotta work 6 days a week. We're gonna just only make it 5. But what happened was, since we knocked 2 days off, a day off, you're gonna have to work harder doing those 8 hours. He set up that whole system. All right. Now, most people, like they said, his whole mindset was to produce productivity, or to channel more, or to draw more life force from us, more frequency from us. All right, placing us in these factories. The reason why his business really grew is because he was actually hiring black motherfuckers. Okay, he was hiring all the black people. You feel me? And he won favor with our ancestors because they wasn't as advanced as we are now. So niggas thought like, okay, he's paying more, and you don't have to work all these days. Because you still have certain companies around the country that was making people work 7 days, 6 days. Ford came like this. We need to make these niggas think they free. Let's knock some more days off. And the way it was placed out there was, you only have to work 5 days. In exchange, we'll give you more leisure time. So when our ancestors first started working, the only thing they thinking is this: shit, I worked them 5 days and I got 2 days to just relax. 2 days ain't shit, but if you work and sun up to sundown every day, and then you go from that to 7 days, then down to 6 days, hell yeah, you like, shit, 5 days, shit, and you gonna pay more? The only thing he required was for you to work hard. In the beginning, he even used to dive deep into what was going on paternally, like going on at your house. You can read that up on Wikipedia too. All right, because I already closed the MacBook. We ain't got to look at it no more. I'm here with y'all. All right? But understand that the reality of it was a mind fuck, a chess move, okay? And it made black people believe, hey, we are equally common. We're getting treated like human beings finally, when we should have never wanted to be treated like human beings because we was never human. All right? So it was the first step in breaking us from our organic mode of being these gods and these ancient creators. Because see, when we was in physical shackles, we didn't want to have from nothing. It was all or nothing. And that's why they had to kill us. Or some of the ones who didn't rebel, we just was fucking. We just went all full into it. We just slaved. We just accepted it. So when they came with the work, when Henry Ford came with his factory, opening it up to all these black people and Latino people, the gods, and giving us making us work lesser days and paying us a little more, he seemed like the fucking hero. When in reality, he was not. Right? Even if you read in Wikipedia about him, they tell you how he was against the Union. All right? He had hired a Navy SEAL boxer named like Brent Barrett or something. And this guy was the one that would go around and beat. He had a group of, basically like the mob. They was whooping motherfuckers' ass that didn't want to work at these jobs. And if you try to put together a union to try to fight for your equal rights, they was fucking y'all up too. I'll pull it up. Look. He was a whole thug. Henry Ford was a whole mobster. All right, then I'm going to go deeper about who he was. Check it out. Under labor unions, under Henry Ford on Wikipedia, it clearly says, Ford was adamantly against labor unions. Now, for those who didn't work jobs before, you know that unions is everything for you, right? Because the companies treat you like shit. So the union is basically all the workers that actually work for the company coming together to protect the workers' rights. That would be no different than us. We forming the union in the country right now. Like, we the motherfucking citizens, or so they say, We the people doing all the work, paying all the taxes. This country don't run without us, but yeah, y'all run over a motherfucker. Why? Because the people don't have a union. So that's why at jobs had these unions, but at labor unions. But in the beginning, the first labor union was made under Ford Motor Company. And Henry Ford was against the shit because he was about separating individuals and draining everybody their life force and completely dominating them. It was all about, like he said, productivity. They was trying to create as many cars and as many factories as they could. Why? Because these factories help do what to the planet? Kill it. What does it do? What does it do to the hydrogen? It erodes it out. All right. So all these factories being built affected us. Then they start making the cars pumping out all these toxins into the air as well that we don't need. Then it made us lazy. They put you inside a car with 4 glass windows and metal, which was further going to be designed for us to drive down the road anyway. You get what I'm saying? Because they didn't want us around nothing pertaining to nature. You don't need a car to travel. Before we was using our energy to travel. Remember I told you about Kerbals. So this was all a part of taking us into that next level of slavery so that they can further take the shackles off us, because now they got niggas' minds, souls, and spirits. All right? So although he was disguised as a person that was doing so much for us and for the job, like we didn't need no jobs. Think about it. Why the fuck do we need to work in 8 factories which are designed to kill off our nature, our wildlife, and us? So no matter where you work, medical field, sports entertainment, you become a rapper, you sell drugs, you go work at Burger King, you go work at retail, all these companies are against us. Yeah, we buy shoes, but we don't think about how many kids they kill and enslave to make the motherfucking shoes and these clothes that we don't even need. We buy food, but they poison in that. We buy water, they poison in that. We go work in the medical field, they train you to poison your people. It's not a job you can name that is not designed to kill us. That's the end goal of every major Fortune 500 company. It's to kill us. Okay? So as you can see that clearly, you can see what the fuck a job is. That's why I said that's a form of selling your soul. We basically I'm going to sell. Okay, that's like when I worked at Burger King, McDonald's. I sold all this badass poison meat to my people for a check. That's no different than me when I sold drugs in the streets of Chicago. I sold crack and dope and heroin to my people before for money. I robbed my own people before for money. Right? So that made me a cancer to my people. But if I went to work at Foot Locker and sold gym shoes, I was still a cancer to my people, because we don't need shoes neither. We don't need these. We don't need these. This hurts us. But yet we've been trained to wear it. Rubber soles. Rubber. Designed for your soul. Because that's what it affects the most. Your life force. Which is generated from your center of you, which is the plexus, your solar plexus. It's the center of your chakras, the center of you. Some people think it's the heart chakra, which sits above the solar plexus, but no. It's really your soul, because that's where all your energy comes from. It's coming from your soul. That's the sun of you, along with the little mini universes and the little mini suns you got chromosomes. So I'm pointing out it's not a job you can work that doesn't hurt your people or hurt your planet. All right. Now let me show you how evil this motherfucker was.
I would never buy candles online. I have my son buy it for me.
When are you getting your computer?
Show you how evil this motherfucker was. Ford didn't want nobody to think for themselves. Henry Ford did. So what he did was he was against labor unions, right? He explained his views on unions in chapter 18 in his book called My Life of Work. He thought they were too heavily influenced by leaders who would end up doing more harm than good for workers, despite their ostensible good motives. So, key word to focus on. He thought they were too heavily influenced by leaders. He did not like leaders. A leader is what? A free thinker. That's what makes him or her a leader, because they are not scared to think on their own. All right? Now let's keep going. Most of these leaders, he said, wanted to restrict productivity as a means to foster employment. All right? But Ford saw this as self-defeating, because in his view, product was necessary for economic prosperity to exist. So Ford didn't give a fuck. He was like a slave master. He just want product to be made. He don't give a fuck how hard you got to work, what you got to do. how long you gotta be in there. I need product and I need it now. That's no different than 40 years prior when motherfuckers was on the slave plantation and the slave master needed product. He needed cotton, he needed his tea, he needed his motherfucking coffee beans, all that. And he needed it now. Remember, the slaves had quota. See what I'm saying? 40 pounds of cotton a day. Some of them had to pick 60 based on your age. Now, you know how many cuts you gonna get on your fingers? How many times you gonna get pricked trying to pick 40 pounds of cotton in a field full of other individuals when the sun beaming on the back of your goddamn neck and you not in your natural element, sun up, sun down. That was the work back then, as a sun up to sun down. Wasn't no breaks. Master came out there, threw a big ass keg of water in the thing, y'all took y'all little sips, y'all back at it. Cause see, back then, even they knew we don't require food to operate. They knew that then. That's why a lot of the slaves wasn't even eating like that. A lot of people think that the slaves wasn't eating like that, and when they did feed the slaves, they would feed their ass motherfucking the leftovers from the pig intestines, the pig nuts, the pig feet. You know, the bullshit, the shit they knew wasn't good. The worst part of the pig was left for us. The worst part of the meal was left for us. They didn't eat like that yet. We was strong, big, all that, because it was all sunlight and water. And remember, it's by the slaves being in the barnyard and the field all day, they out there eating plants, certain shrubs, leaves, and they know that. It's no different than putting a donkey out in the middle of the field. You ain't gotta go out there and feed that donkey. You ain't gotta go feed that horse. That horse gonna sustain itself. Sunlight, grass, and then get water from the soil, and the grass is chewing. And it's good to go. Hay, and it's good to go. Right? The reason animals are so can sustain themselves off the basics like that is because they come from us. And that's how we anciently ate. So in slavery times, we really didn't eat like that. You know what I'm saying? And when we did eat, it was bullshit. Then once they seen they can get us to eat the bullshit, they kept pushing it and pushing it on us. And this is where all your soul food comes from today. All right? It's bad for your soul. It's not good for your soul. None of it is. All right? But that's imperative for you to know that so you can fully understand how he was operating. All right? And before Henry Ford Motor Company, this was the first major company to actually hire black folks. You gotta think now. Motherfuckers slaves, fresh out of slavery. But guess what? You got these cities getting built, these factories getting built. We wanted to go club. They was pulling us into that life. Because they had the money to do it. So that's how they used the jobs, because it was like, okay, you niggas free now, but if you want to come in here, you're going to need this. Well, niggas ain't got that. Oh, well, look like your ass ain't going to be free again. Your ass you're going to have to work for it. So it's the same thing. But they made us think it was a mind fuck that niggas was free. And then they started making shit cost. But when we was slaves, physical, it was no money, nothing cost. That's the whole lie when they like, oh, well, they needed money and they was trading slaves for money. Why would the master need money? They took the money. The money is the land, the natural resources, the water, the land. That's the fucking, the gold right there.